Good morning, Patreon family. Good morning, good morning. So, y'all, I'm still reading the book of Mark. It's pretty interesting so far, but I wanted to give y'all a little word. Okay, so it's like 16 chapters. I'm halfway through it. But this came from Mark 7 today. And it talked about being clean versus unclean. And so I just thought this was so interesting and I wanted to share it with y'all. And y'all let me know what y'all think, because I really, it stuck out to me. So Jesus was eating with his disciples in this specific chapter. And the Pharisees, they were watching them and they were saying, like, these people are unclean, like they don't wash their hands when they eat, basically saying that they were unclean because to the Pharisees that was like a tradition, like it was basically a tradition for you to wash your hands before you eat. But Jesus and his disciples didn't do that for whatever which reason. And so the Pharisees are telling Jesus, like, so what it say? So this is Mark 7 verses 5. It says, so the Pharisees and the teachers of the law asked Jesus, why don't your disciples live according to the tradition of the elders instead of eating their food with unclean hands? Y'all, so this is what they asked Jesus. One thing I'm realizing about Jesus, like, Jesus really don't play the radio. Like, it's so interesting because he doesn't. Like, people will question him and he'll be like, why are you questioning me? Do you not know? You didn't read? Okay, well, go read and then come talk to me. Like, it's really deep. Like, it's really deep. It's really interesting how Jesus answers people. And it's like he uses the word to answer people. And so I want to first start there. Like, when people try to question your position, when people try to question what you're doing, why you're doing the things you're doing, like, first of all, you don't have to validate yourself to anybody. We learned that from Jesus. I think that was in the book of John, I believe, where he was saying, like, I don't need any validation from y'all. I'm a witness and God's a witness. Like, so we already know we don't have to validate ourselves to people, like, at all. We don't need validation outside of us. But we also don't have to worry about when people have something to say about the things that we're doing. Like, don't worry about what the outside people have to say about the things that you do, because as long as you are doing according to his law and of his word, you ain't doing nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that's a big thing in the church a lot of times, is where people want to judge other people based on the traditions of man and the what they feel like is right, as opposed to what the book says is right. And so I feel like it's important to really understand that statement, because it's not about doing what man says is right. You got to do what God says is right. And if you doing what God says is right, you straight. Because man is man. And he's flawed just like everybody else. So I wouldn't compare myself to what man is doing. I'm not going to compare my walk to what man says my walk should be. And I feel like y'all shouldn't either. So I'm going to go to what Jesus said. And so this is Mark 7 verses 6 all the way to verse 20. But I'm just going to read what he said right here in verse 6. He said, he replied, Isaiah was right when he prophesied about the hypocrites, as it is written. And so this is what it says. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are but rules taught by man. You have let go of the commandments of God and are holding on to the traditions of man. Baby, when I say Jesus gave them what they needed, like, that's some real intense information right there. It says you have let go of the commandments of God and are holding on to the traditions of man. So I want to just pinpoint that, Patreon family. I want y'all to think about, I don't want to say how have you, held on to the tradition of man, because I feel like that's like a bit of like condemning, and I don't want to ever condemn, because who am I? I know I've held on to some traditions of man, you know what I'm saying? But I want to think about that statement, like, in what ways have you felt like you've become too a part of the world, and how can we redirect that path so that way we are coming a part of God's kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to be in the world, but not of it. We want to make sure that if we're in the world, we're not partaking in things that separate us from God. And so I just thought that it was very interesting how Jesus said that to these people, like, come on now, like, I'm not doing nothing wrong here. Like, I honor God in my heart and in my spirit. And then it goes on to say, it talked about being clean and unclean, and I thought this was very important, especially in the decade that we live in, where a lot of people are so consumed with like what they eat. So I thought this was really interesting. It says, listen, this is Mark 7 verses 14, and then it says, verse 14, again Jesus called the crowd to him and said, listen to me, listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a man can make him unclean, but by going into him. Rather, it is what comes out of man that makes him unclean. So he's telling these folks, like, nothing outside of you can pollute you. It's everything that comes out of you is what is going to be the pollution. Okay. So it's like, where is your heart? What is in your heart? Because you know that phrase, like, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if you're saying something that's coming out to the people around you and it's toxic, it's negative, it's poisonous, that is what makes you an unclean person. It doesn't matter. You could eat, vegan vegetables all day, you know what I'm saying, and still have a nasty disposition about you, and that would make you still an unclean person. Or you could eat pork chops, you know what I'm saying? Well, not pork chops, because when y'all read about what they did with the demons to the pigs, I'll never eat another pig again. I don't even eat pork anyway, but that's like an extra no on the pork, okay? I don't even want pizza no more. But anyway, talking about the concept of Jesus telling them, like, whatever comes out of you is what determines whether you're clean or unclean. It's not about what comes into you. So be mindful about that. Be mindful of the words that you speak. Don't compare yourself to society. Don't speak on a level that makes you popular, I guess, for society. Speak on something that makes you popular for God. One of the YouTubers that I watch, her name is Jasmine. You should check her out. Her YouTube is My Season Now. She said you got to be about your Father's business. So it can't be what does man think. It has to be what does God think. And just know that what God thinks and God's spirit is within you. So you have to make sure you are presenting yourself in that way when you speak to others. You never know how your word can touch somebody. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, y'all, I just wanted to give y'all that little bit of notes on Mark 7. Hey, y'all know the tea. Drop your information in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Mark 7. Let's talk about being clean and unclean. And let's talk about being in the world and not of it. So that's it, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you catch this. I love y'all so much. Peace, y'all.